Imagine walking past a man every day, a man wearing a faded denim jacket held together by safety pins. You see him sweeping the floors of a local department store, his hands calloused from years of manual labor. He lives in a modest house, drives a used car, and eats simple meals that most would find unremarkable. This is the story of a man the world chose to ignore, yet he held a secret that would shock the nation. Welcome to the incredible journey of a humble janitor who quietly built an $8 million fortune right under everyone's noses. Most people believe that to be wealthy, you need a high-octane salary, a corner office, and a prestigious degree. We are told that the path to financial freedom is paved with complex algorithms and high-stakes day trading. But today's story proves that discipline, patience, and the power of compound interest are the true kings of wealth. Meet our protagonist, a man who lived through the Great Depression and learned the value of every single penny. He wasn't a Wall Street genius or a tech entrepreneur. He was a person who mastered the art of stealth wealth. As Morgan Housel says in The Psychology of Money, doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are. It has everything to do with how you behave. And our hero's behavior was nothing short of legendary. Every morning, he woke up at 5 a.m., long before the sun kissed the horizon of his small town. He would brew his own coffee, avoiding the daily $5 temptation that drains the pockets of the modern worker. While others were busy upgrading their lifestyles, he was busy upgrading his assets in total, beautiful silence. He understood a fundamental truth. Wealth is what you don't see, the cars not purchased and the jewelry not worn. His coworkers saw a quiet janitor, but his brokerage account saw a visionary who was playing the long game. Let's look at the math of his daily habits, the small ripples that eventually created a massive financial tsunami. He practiced the pay-yourself-first rule, a core principle from the classic book The Richest Man in Babylon. Before paying for rent or groceries, a portion of his meager paycheck went straight into his investment portfolio. Even if it was just $50 a week, he never missed a payment to his future self, regardless of the economy. He didn't chase the next big thing or the latest speculative bubble that promised overnight riches to the greedy. Instead, he focused on blue-chip companies, the backbone of the economy that provided goods and services everyone needed. Imagine a simple chart showing a line moving slowly upward, fueled by the relentless engine of dividend reinvestment. Every time a company paid him a dividend, he didn't spend it on a steak dinner or a new gadget. He used that money to buy more shares, creating a snowball effect that grew with every passing decade. People often ask, how can a janitor afford to buy stocks? The answer lies in his radical frugality and focus. He grew his own vegetables, mended his own clothes, and found joy in the simple things that cost nothing. His neighbors thought he was struggling, perhaps even poor, but he was secretly one of the wealthiest men in town. This high-stakes drama isn't about a stock market crash. It's about the internal battle against consumerism and social pressure. It's the drama of choosing a secure future over a flashy present, a battle he won every single day. Think about your own daily habits, the small subscriptions, the impulse buys, the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. If you redirected just 10% of that wasted capital, where would you be in 20, 30, or 40 years? Our hero didn't have a financial advisor. He had a library card and a burning desire to be independent. He spent his lunch breaks reading annual reports instead of gossiping in the break room with his tired colleagues. He looked for companies with strong moats, steady earnings, and a history of rewarding their loyal shareholders. He was an owner, not just a consumer, and that shift in mindset changed the trajectory of his entire life. While the world panicked during market downturns, he saw those moments as clearance sales for the world's best businesses. He didn't have the get-rich-quick disease that plagues so many investors in our fast-paced digital age today. He had the get-rich-surely mindset, which is far more powerful and much more likely to succeed. Let's visualize the compound interest formula. A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of N times T. It looks complex, but it's actually pure magic. Time is the most important variable in that equation, and he gave his money plenty of time to grow. By starting early and never stopping, he allowed the eighth wonder of the world to work its wonders for him. He stayed away from debt like it was a contagious plague, knowing that interest paid is wealth lost forever. He never carried a credit card balance, preferring to wait and save for what he truly needed in life. His lifestyle was a fortress of simplicity, protecting his growing capital from the many leaks of modern living. Every time he swept a floor, he knew he was one step closer to a level of freedom few will ever know. He didn't feel deprived, he felt empowered by the growing stack of stock certificates tucked away in his safe. His story is a slap in the face to anyone who says they don't earn enough money to start investing. It's not about the size of your shovel, it's about how much dirt you keep and where you put it. As the decades rolled on, the world around our hero changed at a dizzying, frantic pace. High-rise buildings climbed toward the clouds, and the roar of the digital revolution began to echo everywhere. People started trading their time for the latest gadgets, the fastest cars, and the most expensive labels. But inside his quiet home, the janitor remained unmoved by the fleeting trends of the modern masses. He knew that the secret to lasting wealth isn't about looking rich, it's about actually being wealthy. In the words of the legendary Warren Buffett, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Our hero was the personification of patience, holding his shares through wars, recessions, and political upheavals. He didn't check the stock prices every hour on a glowing screen like a nervous, frantic gambler. He checked them perhaps once a month, or even once a year, focusing on the long-term harvest. This emotional stoicism is what separates the masters of finance from those who lose it all in a panic. Think about the high-stakes drama of a market crash, when everyone is screaming to sell their holdings. In those moments, he was the calmest man in the room, knowing his businesses were still producing value. He understood that a stock isn't just a ticker symbol on a screen, it's a piece of a real company. If people are still buying groceries, using electricity, and visiting doctors, his investments were fundamentally safe. This is the margin of safety principle, a concept taught by the great Benjamin Graham in his classic books. By buying high-quality companies at fair prices, he protected himself from the permanent loss of his hard-earned capital. Let's talk about the emotional weight of his journey, the isolation of being misunderstood by his own peers. Have you ever felt the pressure to spend money just to fit in with a specific social circle? He felt it too, but his vision for the future was far more vivid than his desire for temporary approval. He was building a legacy, a mountain of security that would eventually provide for causes he cared about. Every dollar he saved was a freedom fighter working for him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Money doesn't sleep, it doesn't get tired, and it never asks for a vacation if you treat it with respect. He viewed his portfolio as a growing forest, where each tree was a different company he proudly owned. Some trees grew fast, some grew slow, but together they created a lush, impenetrable canopy of total financial safety. He avoided the lifestyle creep that ruins most people as they earn more money throughout their long careers. When he received a small raise or a bonus, it didn't go toward a better TV or a newer car. It went directly into the forest, planting more money trees that would bear fruit for decades to come. This is the power of fixed expenses, keeping your costs low while your income and assets steadily rise. It creates a massive dap of investable surplus, the raw material needed to manufacture a multi-million-dollar life. He was a master of opportunity cost, understanding that a $100 unnecessary purchase today is $2,000 lost in the future. He did the math in his head before every purchase. Is this item worth more than the freedom it takes away? Most of the time, the answer was a resounding no, and he walked away with his capital perfectly intact. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being intentional with the limited resources we are given in this life. It's about prioritizing the big wins over the small, temporary thrills that vanish within a few hours. His investing habit was as regular as his heartbeat, unseen, consistent, and absolutely vital to his survival. He focused on dividend aristocrats, companies that have increased their payouts for at least 25 consecutive years. These companies are the golden geese of the financial world, laying eggs of cash regardless of the market mood. Imagine receiving a check in the mail just for owning a piece of a company you already use every day. Now imagine hundreds of those checks arriving, creating a stream of passive income that exceeds your living costs. That is the moment you become truly free, when your money works harder for you than you do for it. Our janitor reached this crossover point in total secrecy, years before he actually decided to retire. He continued to work, not because he had to, but because he found dignity in his daily labor and service. There is a profound lesson here about the dignity of work and the humility required to stay the course. He didn't feel the need to announce his wealth to the world to feel significant or successful. His significance came from his character, his integrity, and the quiet knowledge of his own massive achievement. In a world of loud influencers and fake wealth, his quiet success is a beacon of hope for the average person. You don't need a miracle, you don't need to win the lottery, and you certainly don't need to be lucky. You need a plan, you need the courage to start, and the iron will to never, ever give up on yourself. Let's dive deeper into the specific types of companies he chose and why they were the keys to his $8 million. He liked businesses that were boring, the ones that provide water, food, healthcare, and basic consumer goods. Why did he choose these boring companies? Because people need soap, medicine, and heat, regardless of the stock market. This is the defensive investing strategy, looking for stability in a world that is obsessed with high-growth volatility. He was essentially a co-owner of the world's most essential services, collecting a small fee every time someone turned on a light. Think about the mental clarity that comes from knowing your wealth is tied to the basic needs of humanity. He didn't need to predict the next iPhone or the next social media giant. He just needed to bet on human survival. This is a high-stakes drama of the mind, resisting the urge to do something when the news says the world is ending. Most investors fail because they can't sit still. They feel the need to trade, to pivot, to optimize their portfolios. Our janitor understood that the best thing you can do for your money is often nothing at all. Just let it sit. Charlie Munger once said, "The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. Every time you sell a stock to lock in profits, you are chopping down a tree that was just starting to bear fruit." He held his shares for 40, 50, even 60 years, allowing the exponential curve to turn into a vertical wall of wealth. Let's look at an example. If you invest $500 a month with an 8% return, you have $170,000 after 15 years. But if you stay for 40 years, that same $500 a month turns into over $1.7 million. The magic happens at the end. Most people quit in the first 10 years because they don't see the massive hockey stick growth yet. Our hero was a master of the boring middle, those long years where you save and invest without seeing much change. He found joy in the process, not just the result. He loved the discipline of his daily routine and his weekly contributions. This is emotional storytelling at its finest, a man who found fulfillment in his work while building a secret empire. He was a millionaire next door, a term coined by Thomas J. Stanley to describe the wealthy who live below their means. These are the people who buy used cars, live in average neighborhoods, and don't care about their social status. They care about financial status, which is the actual amount of capital they control and the freedom it provides. Imagine the janitor at a local charity event, wearing his old jacket, while wealthy donors in tuxedos look down on him. Little did they know, his net worth likely dwarfed many of theirs, because his wealth was built on assets, not debt. Many rich people are just high earners who spend everything they make. They are one paycheck away from total disaster. But our janitor was wealthy. He had the power to never work another day in his life if he chose to. This is the ultimate flex, having the resources to do whatever you want, with whomever you want, for as long as you want. He didn't use his wealth to buy a yacht, he used it to buy time, peace of mind, and eventually a gift for others. As he aged, his portfolio began to spin off more cash than he could ever possibly spend in his lifetime. He didn't change his lifestyle, he didn't move to a mansion or start buying expensive wines or rare art. He stayed true to his roots, proving that wealth doesn't change who you are, it simply reveals who you are. He was a man of service, a man of quiet dignity, and a man who understood the value of a legacy. Let's talk about diversification. He didn't put all his eggs in one basket, but he didn't overcomplicate it either. He owned a broad range of sectors: railroads, banks, consumer staples, and healthcare providers. If one sector struggled, the others were there to carry the weight, ensuring his portfolio never stopped growing. He was a buy and hold investor in a buy and flip world, a strategy that is increasingly rare and valuable. In today's world of zero DTE options and crypto moonshots, his story is a grounding reminder of what actually works. You don't need to be a genius, you just need to be more disciplined than the person standing next to you. Think about your own financial leakage, the small monthly charges that add up to thousands of dollars over time. Our hero didn't have these leaks. His financial ship was airtight, allowing every drop of income to be put to work. He was an expert at delayed gratification, the ability to resist a small reward now for a much bigger reward later. This is the single most important trait for financial success, yet it is the hardest one for most people to master. We live in an instant gratification culture where we want everything delivered to our door within 2 hours. But wealth is a slow-cooked meal. It requires the right ingredients and a lot of time on low heat. He was the chef of his own fortune, patiently waiting for the flavors of compounding to fully develop. Every time he saw his bank balance grow, he didn't feel the urge to reward himself by spending it. The growth itself was the reward. The feeling of safety was better than any luxury item he could have bought. He lived a life of relative wealth, where his needs were small, making his fortune feel even larger. If you need $100,000 a year to be happy, you need a much bigger portfolio than someone who is happy with $30,000. By keeping his desires low, he lowered the bar for financial freedom, reaching it much faster than most executives. This is a motivation talk for the person who feels stuck in a low-paying job. Your income doesn't define your future. Your savings rate defines your future. It's not how much you make, but how much you keep and grow. Eventually, the calendar reached the year 2014, and our humble hero passed away quietly at the age of 92. It was only then, when his will was read, that the shockwaves began to ripple through his small Vermont town. The penniless janitor had left behind a fortune of $8 million, leaving everyone who knew him absolutely speechless. He didn't leave the money to buy a monument for himself or to settle old debts he never had. He donated $6 million to his local hospital and library, the very places that nourished his body and mind. This is the high-stakes drama of a life well lived, the final reveal of a secret hero who served in silence. His story went viral, appearing on the front pages of major newspapers and sparking debates in financial boardrooms. Skeptics asked, "How is this possible?" while the wise recognized the blueprint he had left behind for all of us. He proved that the financial system isn't just for the elite, it's a ladder available to anyone with the will to climb. You don't need a high IQ to build wealth, you need a high EQ, emotional quotient, to manage your own impulses. Let's recap the strategy that turned a janitor's wage into a multi-millionaire's estate over several decades. Rule number 1. Live significantly below your means regardless of how much your income grows over time. Rule number 2. Invest in what you know and what the world needs, boring, reliable, blue-chip companies. Rule number 3. Harness the power of dividends and reinvest them relentlessly to trigger the compounding effect. Rule number 4. Master your emotions so you can stay invested when the rest of the world is panicking. And finally, rule number 5. Have a purpose for your wealth that is bigger than just personal consumption. When you have a why, the how becomes much easier to sustain through the long, boring years of waiting. His why was a quiet love for his community and a desire to see it thrive long after he was gone. This is the ultimate lesson in financial education. Money is a tool, not the end goal of a human life. If you use the tool correctly, you can build a life of freedom, security, and immense, lasting impact. Think about the compounding of character that happened alongside his financial compounding throughout his long life. The discipline required to save $1 is the same discipline required to be a person of integrity. Every time he chose to mend his jacket instead of buying a new one, he was strengthening his discipline muscle. By the time he was a millionaire, that muscle was so strong that wealth couldn't corrupt his humble soul. Many people pray for a fortune, but few pray for the character required to actually manage and keep one. Our janitor had both, and that is why his story resonates so deeply with millions of people today. You might be sitting in a cubicle, driving a delivery truck, or, yes, even sweeping a floor right now. Your current job title does not determine your financial destiny. Your current habits and mindset do. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. The philosophy of Arthur Ashe. Even if you can only save $10 a week, start today. The cost of delay is the most expensive tax in the world. If our hero had waited until he felt rich enough to invest, he would have died with nothing in the bank. He started with what he had, when he had it, and let time do the heavy lifting for him. Take a moment to visualize your own $8 million future. What does it look like for you and your family? Is it a debt-free home? Is it the ability to send your children to college without a single loan? Is it the freedom to quit a toxic job and pursue a passion that doesn't pay the bills yet? Whatever it is, the path is the same: frugality, consistency, and a long-term perspective on the stock market. Don't be distracted by the get-rich-quick schemes that flood your social media feeds every single day. They are the sirens trying to crash your ship onto the rocks of poverty and permanent financial ruin. Follow the path of the quiet janitor, the path that is proven, stable, and open to everyone watching this. As we conclude this journey, remember that wealth is a marathon, not a sprint toward a finish line. It requires you to keep showing up, even when you're tired, even when the market is down, even when it's boring. The rewards at the end are worth every single sacrifice you make today. Freedom is the greatest prize of all. Our janitor died a hero, not because of the money, but because of the example he set for all of us. He proved that the American dream, or any dream of freedom, is still alive for those willing to work for it. Go out and start building your own secret empire, $1 and one disciplined choice at a time. Subscribe to this channel if you want more stories that inspire you to take control of your financial future. Share this with someone who thinks they don't earn enough to become wealthy. It might just change their life. Remember, it's not about the denim jacket or the broom. It's about the heart of a lion inside. Thank you for watching the story of the man who quietly changed the world from the shadows of a department store. Your journey to $8 million starts with the very next penny you decide to keep. Godspeed.